There is a specific kind of safety in the way a dog rests its head on your knee. It is a relationship built on thousands of years of unspoken, complete trust. Over generations of living together, we have deliberately sought out companions with very specific traits. We naturally gravitate toward dogs with wide, baby-like flat faces, stubby little legs, and deep, exaggerated wrinkles, because we find those features undeniably cute. But those traits are not natural variations. The flat faces and shortened limbs we find so adorable are severe genetic mutations that we have entirely normalized. Watch a dog with these features resting, and you will often see them physically struggling to draw air into their lungs. In our pursuit to engineer the visually perfect companion, we have actively selected for physical deformities. We are breeding animals whose biological systems are broken before they even take their first breath. The loyalty these dogs place in us is absolute. By demanding cosmetic appeal at the expense of their physical health, we have betrayed that trust. Take a look at this vintage photograph of a bulldog. If you look closely at the profile, you can see how centuries of selective breeding have forcefully flattened the facial bone structure. This condition is called brachycephaly. This image shows how that skull compression physically pushes the eyes forward in breeds like pugs. The bone structure is distorted to the point that the eye sockets are incredibly shallow. A bump into furniture or a slight pull on a collar can literally cause the dog's eyeball to pop out, causing a gruesome medical emergency called proptosis. This side-by-side diagram shows the mechanics of a normal canine airway compared to a severely obstructed brachycephalic skull. We bred the outer jaw to be pushed back, but the soft tissue inside hasn't shrunk to match. The soft palate is now far too long for the shortened space, physically blocking the throat, while the trachea narrows significantly, severely restricting every breath. Because dogs cool themselves by panting, this restricted airway is dangerous. Breeds like the Pekingese cannot move enough air to regulate their body temperature. Trapping heat inside that compressed nasal cavity means a short walk on a warm day can trigger complete respiratory distress. Many airlines flat out ban these breeds from cargo holds because they regularly overheat and die in transit. The demand for a small, round, baby-like head has also devastated breeds like the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. In this medical visualization, you can see the horrific consequence of that tiny skull. The bone structure is simply too small for the animal's own brain. The brain tissue is forcefully squeezed and forced out the back of the skull into the spinal canal. This condition, known as syringomyelia, creates fluid-filled cavities in the spinal cord, leaving the dog in constant, agonizing neurological pain. Selecting for a smaller, rounder face actively breaks a dog's most vital systems, making it nearly impossible to breathe, sleep, or live without pain. This image shows the classic structure of a dachshund. That famous sausage shape is the result of deliberately cultivating a genetic mutation called chondrodysplasia. It is a form of dwarfism that creates these dramatically shortened, warped front legs while leaving the body long. This diagram illustrates the mechanical physics of that shape. An elongated spine suspended between short legs takes on enormous, unnatural mechanical stress. Just jumping off a normal couch creates intense downward pressure that frequently ruptures the intervertebral discs. About a quarter of all dachshunds will rupture a disc, leading to severe pain and high rates of hind leg paralysis. Look at the Basset Hound here. They face the exact same spinal risks, but the physical pressure is compounded by a heavier, low-slung chest. Furthermore, those massive, ground-dragging ears trap warmth and moisture against the head, creating a perfect environment for chronic ear infections. Even highly functional, athletic working dogs have been dismantled by arbitrary aesthetic standards set in the show ring. Take the German Shepherd. Here is a skeletal comparison. On the left, a 1950s German Shepherd stands square and balanced. On the right, the modern show champion features a dramatically sloped rear end. Breeders selected for this extreme angle simply because it looked striking to human judges. That steep slope forces the dog into a permanent crouch, placing massive, abnormal stress directly on the hip joints and lower spine. Today, showline German Shepherds suffer from some of the highest rates of hip dysplasia and progressive hind leg paralysis of any breed. When we design a dog to fit an artificial visual standard, we guarantee that their skeleton will eventually collapse under its own weight. Beyond bone structure, Breeders also chase extreme superficial novelty. In breeds like the Shar Pei and Neapolitan Mastiff, a genetic mutation overproduces skin tissue. These deep wrinkles act as permanent traps for moisture, yeast, and aggressive bacteria. The loose skin hanging off their faces is so heavy that it physically rolls the eyelids inward, a condition called entropion. With every single blink, their own eyelashes scrape directly against the cornea. Many of these dogs require multiple surgical facelifts just to prevent permanent blindness. Then there is the hairless Chinese crested. The specific genetic mutation that removes their fur, ectodermal dysplasia, also dictates tooth and bone development. The exact trait that gives them their unique, desirable look actively destroys their teeth and leaves their bones incredibly fragile. Look at the towering scale of the Great Danes in this photo. They have been pushed to the absolute extreme of physical size, purely for visual impact. That massive biological load comes with a lethal internal toll. A Great Dane's heart has to work so hard to pump blood across that gigantic frame that the muscle frequently weakens and fails. Their oversized stomachs are also highly prone to filling with gas and twisting shut, cutting off blood supply in a fatal emergency called bloat. When we breed purely for these extreme cosmetic novelties, we turn the animal's own body into an inescapable trap of chronic infection and early death. To see exactly how rapidly human demand has warped canine anatomy, look at this transition of the Bull Terrier. The skull from the 1900s had a normal, defined forehead. Over roughly 100 years, selective breeding has smoothed it into an entirely unbroken, egg-shaped curve. This cranial transformation carries direct neurological consequences. The genes linked to this altered structure result in incredibly high rates of congenital deafness and brain abnormalities that cause exhausting, compulsive tail-chasing disorders. The features we actively select for, buy, and reward with ribbons are the exact same features destroying these animals from the inside out. It forces us to ask what it actually means to love a dog. True affection does not mean finding a struggling, deformed animal cute. True connection means prioritizing functional biology. It means demanding healthier genetics, stepping away from extreme breed standards, and wanting our best friends to run, play, and breathe without being in pain. If you believe we need to prioritize health over arbitrary breed standards, share this video to help raise awareness for these dogs, and subscribe to the channel as we keep exploring the hidden mechanics of our world.